It's a great honor to invite Gerard today on the screen with us. And I knew him for more than 10 years, I suppose. It is a great honor. He's always been a good friend who's always very uplifting. Let's get him on the screen to share with us another uplifting message that I think all the men and women should be aware of. Gerard, come on.
Okay, do you see my screen?
Yeah, working well.
I'm sure that you all brought your cosmetic kits and everything, right? Did Joanne tell you that this is going to be about cosmetics, outwards appearance? No, right? Joanne, what are you doing? Supposed to communicate there? Or? No, just kidding. Yeah. Okay, so you all know King Solomon, right? King Solomon is one of the wisest guy in that ever lived in this earth. He said that everything has its time. Everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck what is planted. I'm sure that for the past 2 days, all of us had gone through a miserable time called COVID. But I would say that it is a great reset for everyone. So, there's everything, there's a season, everything, there's a time and purpose. But before I carry on, I want to notify everybody that this presentation, there's a disclaimer. So all information is compiled by myself from reliable sources. And what I'm sharing is what of my personal experience and the studies and the research that I've done. Okay? So I need you to participate with me. No doubt that this is a Zoom call. Please participate and ask questions. Please do answer. Yeah. So who is the speaker? First and foremost, I have to say that I am not a doctor, not a qualified psychologist. And so when Joanne asked me to say, I said, I'm not a qualified psychologist. So I cannot talk about the matters of the mind. But she said that just share your experience. So I said, okay. So for Grameen, please share your experience. Love is made on purpose. But I am a family man, a fighter, an author of a book called Road to Beautiful, hence this title of this book, this talk, a business coach, a cancer survivor. I'm a follower of Jesus. I have an MBA from University of South Australia, and also I have a certificate of nutrition from Cornell University. So I always like to say this, but some of you may have not known me, some of you may have known me for some time. I just want to show you the proof in the pudding. So I'm going to show you this video. Just have a few minutes to understand what I have gone through.
I'm just going to ask you, have you seen this video or not? This is to start. To start the speaking.
I'm sorry, Jared.
Am I the only one not able
video.
to see the video? Yeah, can't see the video there.
Cannot see it?
No, we can't.
Yeah, no.
Can't see it. Okay. Let me see it.
Do you want to probably copy the whole link?
Hang on. Can you see now?
Yeah, we can see. Yeah.
Many of my friends, I'm sure.
Yeah. Sure. Full screen, maybe.
At a very young age, living an American family, got a great in the career, and began to travel to visit many countries. That made it until on a no space history, not Canada. My whole world crumbled. I got senses. On that, 2 young girls, aged 35 radiotherapy and 3 chemotherapy. It was the longest and darkest days of my life. It took me 2 hours to finish the cup of water. The radiotherapy literally from my friends and family of working one step at a time. 2 months later, they found a dot in the liver. The dog soon grew to 6 tumors. Then I realized that the cancer has migrated to the liver. Stage 4 liver cancer. The doctors told me unusual. It's not normal for the NPC to migrate from the nose to the liver. If it did, most likely I would be 16 underground. I was dying of speechless that felt like being hit by a train. The second death sentence, stage 4 liver cancer, my chances of survival is very low. Even though the chances were low, not too far. Only a story for the whole team. It was in breaking stage 4 liver cancer. That involved in NDA program, and my classmate with gassy. What to me in class? I told them that the worst that can happen to me, that not habitually, you will meet a cancer. Maybe even cancer is changing. I personally believe there are 3 steps that people to me. The 3 steps are body, mind, spirit. I went to the doctor to take care of my body with the doses of chemo cupcakes. And for my mind, it was very peaceful. I was so happy that I continued with my MBA and didn't miss classes, even when going through chemo, and eventually graduated with. From my personal experience, the most important aspect is spiritual. I feel Buddhism and I'm very connected to Jesus. To me, caring is not a religion, but a relationship with Him. We have spiritual plans. We are praying to Jesus, and He will answer my prayers. See that aside from my family and friends, the most prevalent friend that came to this is Jesus. This year, 2016, in 7 years since I overcame stage 4 liver cancer. Could you tell me, am I a miracle? I am. Gerard Khaw.
Okay, thank you, Okay, now I have to go back to my screen. Okay, so now you know about, can you see my screen?
Addressing the subject of worship. Yeah, we can see, yeah.
Yes.
Hang on, sorry. Can you see my screen, Kenan? Okay.
Yes.
So the objective for today is to understand what are the chances of getting cancer, what are the causes, very briefly, and what is the holistic approach towards overcoming cancer. This is based on the studies I've done and also based on my personal experience. So what are the chances of everybody getting a cancer? Do you have a rough idea? Anybody? What are the chances of somebody getting a cancer? Whatever cancer. Anybody want to try? 10%, 5%, 20%, 30%? Nobody? Okay, then I have to ask Joanne, what do you think? How many percent?
50%, depending on the food you eat.
50%. Wow, that's high. That's right. One in two, according to this Men's Health website, 1 in 2 will be diagnosed with cancer in our lifetime. Very scary, right? It is very scary. Okay, so if you look at this map, this is from WHO. The dark red is the other countries that have the highest probability of people getting cancer. And you probably want to look at this particular peninsula where we all stay in, Malaysia. What color is this? Dark red. Okay, so what are the main causes of cancer? I'm just going to briefly, because of time, I'm going to briefly just mention about it. According to D.D. Campbell from the China study, okay, and the premier of the time, Mr. Zhao Enlai, they made a study in China in the 70s, they found that 4 areas that cause cancer. Number 1 is diet. Okay, today we have what we call the MAD diet, modern accelerated diets, right? In the COVID season, we have what we call the Grab food and the Food Panda and the McDonald's and the Kentucky Fried Chicken and all this modern accelerated diet. So this is one of the contributors towards cancer. The second thing is lack of mobility. Just now we heard about Cheryl using a waist, but we are all guilty of this, especially those of us in Penang. We want to find a very nice parking spot that is closest to our destination. If it's 1 street away, it's too far. 1 street away is too far. Huh? So that is one of the concerns. We don't walk, we don't exercise. This is the modern culture. Two areas. The third area is toxic. We have lots of toxins. Since World War II, we have used the most type of chemicals around the world. I mean, if you are as old as me, you probably remember that your grandparents or even your parents, the only makeup or the only cleanser that they use is bedak sejuk. Huh? You remember the bedak sejuk? But today, what do you have? You have the moisturizer, the hair riser, have all these kind of things. So it is toxic. And today, what we eat, what we drink, is also very toxic. Those days, I remember growing up, I drink from the tap water. Today, we have to drink from what? From filtered water, bottled water. So that tells you a lot. And the fourth thing, and which is a huge killer, which is cannot be controlled, it's stress. We can never control stress, and sometimes we do not even know that we are stressful. So as I look back and as I study, I realized that these are the 4 things that contributed to my deterioration of health. So what is the best therapy? Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the body aspect, how you treat cancer and whatsoever. But let me ask you a question. Which circle is bigger? The orange, the blue, or the green? Perhaps Cheryl, can you please answer? Which one do you think is bigger, the bigger one?
It looks like green is bigger, but I suspect they're all the same size.
Cannot suspect, you must give one answer only.
Yeah, I use my finger. Yeah, they're all the same size.
Finger.
Okay, but initially you said green, right?
Yeah, so green looks bigger.
Okay, it's actually all 3 is the same size. So a lot of times in our lives, we want to focus on one circle of our life, one particular circle. But how do we overcome the challenges in life? Is that we have to treat our the solution is to have the road to beautiful solution. I call it the cancer approach, can self-induce recovery. Okay, so what is that holistic approach? A lot of people, they don't talk about the holistic approach when they deal with certain problems. The doctors will tell you just about the body. Nobody will tell you about the mind or the spirit. But today, I just want to touch what is the importance of the mind and the spirit. So what is mind? Okay, it's in the psychological world. Okay, it says that, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper, be in health, even as your soul prosper. So when the soul means, what is mind? What is mind? Do you know what is mind? It's our ability to think and to choose, which was given and fashioned by the Creator. So what is the difference between mind and brain? Do you know? Sometimes, when we, especially those of us who are pretty aged, you will probably hear people, brain, but otak are you? Right? So these are some of the things that we hear. But what is the difference between mind and brain? Brain and mind are not the same thing. The simplified version, the brain is the hardware, mind is the software. Mind is the manifestation of thoughts, perception, emotions, determination, and imagination. Yeah? So what is in a thought? What is in a thought? When you think, you build thoughts. It is what we think. What we think is what we get. thoughts change the structure of physical matters. Because if you think that you can, you can. If you think you cannot, means you cannot. Just like the story that Cheryl mentioned, right? If she thinks she can cross the motorcycle bridge, she probably can, but she had to come down from the car and walk across, drive across. Your thought life changes your choice. You can be free or you can bound you. So I always believe that whatever we feel, whatever we think, causes us to prosper. That is the fundamental truth. So in James Allen, in his book, A Man Thinker, the body is the servant of the mind. Whatever we think, you can do it. So it takes 21 days to change a thought. Let's say if you are addicted to coffee, you have to take 21 days to change that addiction. Then another 21 days to maintain it, and another 21 days. So you're talking about the total of 63 days. According to Dr. Caroline Lee, she is one of the greatest thinkers, psychologists about the mind, says that 75 to 98% of mental and physical behavior comes from toxic thinking. So if you're toxic, unfortunately, the media today tries to feed us with toxic thinking. So that is something that we have to think about. But how about me? With this mindset in frame, this understanding in frame, how do we overcome our challenges? I just want to tell you a quick story by the name of this gentleman by the name of Admiral Stockdale. This story really motivated me in my fight with cancer. Why it motivated me? Because Admiral Stockdale was a prisoner of war in the Vietnam War. He stayed in what he called the Hanoi Hilton, where they were persecuted, where they were tortured relentlessly. But what did he do? The chances of survival is very, very low. As a matter of fact, there's no chance for them to survive. They cannot escape because they were bound in this camp. So the only way out is to kill themselves. Right? So how did he survive? So he coined this word, which is called the Stockdale paradox. So what actually is the Stockdale paradox? The Stockdale paradox says that you must maintain the faith that you will prevail in the end, regardless of the difficulties. I'm sure you have heard this before. The can-do attitude, right? You can do it. You can do it. Cheryl, you can drive across the bridge. Can you do it? You can do it. But is it the truth for you to do it? A lot of times we tell people that this is our problem, and then people tell you, yeah, don't worry, you can do it. How many of you have been there and done that? People tell you that you can do it, don't worry. Now that is false hope. Why is it false hope? What if it doesn't happen? So when Stockdale was asked, what about those who did not make it? He said that those who did not make it because they had false hope. What's the false hope? The people will tell themselves that, I can make it before Christmas. I will survive before Christmas. Or I will survive before Easter. But it never happened. So when it never happened, they lost hope. So when they lost hope, their thoughts process became corrupted, became toxic. So how do we retain the faith? We must, at the same time, accept the brutal facts of the current reality. Cheryl shared the humor of the day. The brutal fact is that if she were to drive across the motorcycle bridge, I just can imagine, probably the bridge will fall down or her car will go kaput. Right? That is the brutal fact. So can she have the faith and not accept the brutal fact? No. For me, I have the faith to overcome my challenges, but I have to accept the brutal fact that I will probably die because stage 4 cancer, the probability of dying is very high. And the doctor said that I have just a 10% survival rate. Just now you saw the video, it was done in 2016. And this year, bearing a fact that we have lost 11 months, you're talking about 22 2022. It's about 6 years after that. So you're talking about almost 15 years since I overcame cancer. Yeah, it's not me, but because I have the faith to believe that I can overcome it. So what was my faith on? Surely it was not on myself, because I know that I cannot overcome it myself. I need the superior being to help me to overcome it. Since I'm a Christian, I believe that Jesus is the one who helped me to overcome. Yeah, which brings me to the spiritual aspect, the inner being. Interruption. So what's the important thing? We have to rely on God. I know that the spiritual things is a stigma that we all would like to avoid, but it is a fact that we have to accept. Yeah. So we have to address the elephant in the room, because a lot of times we do not want to discuss among ourselves the spiritual. Yeah. Just like the six blind men story of touching the elephant. Some say that it's the tail is a rope, a snake, the trunk is a bamboo shoot, the body is a wall, the trunk, the feet is the trunk. But we still have to. So what is the spirit? It consists of body, mind, soul, and spirit. Once our spirit is down, every time you will hear probably somebody say that, how is he today? His spirit seems down, right? I'm sure you have heard about this. What's really the spirit? The spirit consists of our conscience, our intuition, and consists of the need of fellowship and the need to worship. So what are the spiritual needs of a cancer? So this was done by a study in the Institute of Iman Community Hospital in Tehran. Okay, the cancer patients were from 27-year-old to 72-year-old who faces various types of cancer, and they were asked how they feel about their situation. And this is the findings. Yeah, this is the findings. Number one, they want to have connection. When people are dying, you never hear people say, "Oh, I wish I made $1 million." They will probably say, "I wish that I have connected with my parents. I wish that I spent more time with my children." Right. So this is something that is a deep longing of us as human beings. What's the second thing? Second thing is they want to find inner peace. They want to ask for forgiveness. You know, the things I treated my parents very badly. I wish I could ask for forgiveness before they died. And they also want hope. Now, this is not made up. This is all studies in Tehran, Iman Community Cancer Hospital. And also they want to understand what is the meaning of life. So this is the deep things of the spirit. And they are also looking at the transcendence. How are they communicating with God? How are they going to pray? How are they going to strengthen their spiritual belief? So my personal belief is that I'm a Christian. I always look to Jesus because he said in John 14:6, he says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to me except through the Father except through me." So being a Christian, I always rely on Jesus to fit my spiritual needs because I believe in my faith in him, that it is because of my faith and the faith in him, in me, that I'm here today, given the privilege to speak and share my experience with you. So in closing, I will remind you is that whatever challenges that you have to first quietly focus on your mind and renew and awaken your spirit. These are the most important things that we have to do. So with that, I want to close and remind you that everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. Okay, so these are the references that I've done, I've selected. So lastly, sorry. Any questions? Are there any questions? I'll stop sharing so that if you are shy and you don't want to ask questions in public, you feel that you have a private question, you can take down my telephone. Okay, just don't call me in the middle of the night and ask me to go to the toilet. Yeah? That's the only request now. Okay, so if you have taken down the, I'm sure there are some things, especially we men are very emotionless. It takes Joanne 3 minutes to pour out all her emotions. It will take us 48 hours to share the same thing. So you have to understand this is the problem of men. Men cannot talk about the big things of life. But a woman, Joanne, a few seconds, she will tell you from her grandparents until her great-great-grandparents. Okay? For men, probably 30 years, then you will know. Okay, so now I open to the floor. If you have any questions to ask me regarding my presentation or anything to do with cancer or the mind or the spirit.
Let me start.
Oh.
Yeah, I know I'm always the fastest one. So I actually have a very serious question, Gerard. Knowing me, I'm always very playful and I don't really care much about things until it happens. But I realized lately that it's always good to be in touch with people. But how do you know if someone is suffering? Do you able to see them? I mean, it's very hard to see if someone is having a depression or someone is not feeling so well. So how do you track that?
Okay, there are a few areas I'm just sharing based on my personal experience. A couple of years ago, pre-COVID, I have a very good friend, my schoolmate. I try to keep in touch with him. We used to go out for makan and for drinks. And then I realized that, he was trying to avoid me. Say that he's busy, he's doing this and he's doing that. And to cut the long story short, he took his own life. Okay, so that was something that was it's very sad. And I would say, how do you know is that just be by people's side. So I'm again sharing from my personal experience. During my challenging times, I was blessed to have very good friends to be with me. Sometimes we just don't need to say anything. We just need to be beside that person. You just tell the person, I'm there for you, without mentioning anything. Just be there. Just be beside them, visit them. A simple hi or good morning, how are you, is sufficient because that shows that you really care. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yep, and I think Michelle has a question. Michelle?
Hi, Michelle. Gerard. Thank you for the opportunity for you to speak here. And I do have a question because my late mom was a cancer victim as well. But for me, I would like to know more, like when you were diagnosed with cancer at that moment, when, in the room with the doctor, how do you feel at that emotion? Perhaps you would like to share with us and how you overcome on that.
Well, of course, I'm a man, so I have to proudly say I'm a man, but I could not hold my emotion because it was not for me, it is for my family. I've got 2 young children. So it is my thoughts are saying that if I were to die, how would they overcome this? So I'm fighting this battle not for myself, but mainly for my family. Of course, I'm devastated. It is something that it is a death sentence. Just imagine you are standing in front of the judge and then out of the blue, the judge said that you are sentenced to die. How would you feel? You feel devastated, right? So that is very devastating. But yet you need to understand the brutal facts that you will die. But then you need to have that faith, to at least fight through it. I mean, there's 2. Benjamin Franklin said there's 2 certainties in life: death and taxes. Right? Every day we have to pay taxes, and there's a possibility of those who are humans were to die. So these are the 2 certainties of life. So it's not how we die, but it's how we live our life. That's the most important thing. And the third important thing is that where do we go after we die? Again, the stigma and the elephant in the room that each one have to address themselves. Okay. Any other question? Yes,
Hey, Gerard. Yeah, I got a few questions. So, so as a cancer survivor, what did they actually need when they have been diagnosed that they have cancer, and how can we help them beside a companion? What did they really need?
So you're asking me as a survivor, what do I need? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you just be by their side now. Just be by their side. There are certain types of people, and it also depends on your relationship with that particular person. Okay, so for you to help somebody, you must need to be connected with them even before they are in trouble, right? So even before you're in trouble, you need to, who will you call when you are in trouble? Who will you call? The person closest to you, or you will call a stranger, or you call an associate? Of course, the person closest to you, right? So some people, they would like to have, it depends on the personality of the person, right? Some people, they would like to have a lot of people around them. Some people want to be very secretive. So you have to give them the space. When they will not reach out to you, they will know how to reach out to you for that particular space. So if you are close to them, they will come to you. If you are not close to them, alone. Now, I just again share a personal story. Somebody out of the blue called me in my cancer journey. Somebody called me, and we always ask this question: how are you? Yeah, how are you? Right. So you probably think that when somebody asks you at the time when you are going through it, when somebody asks you how are you, you probably assume that that particular person wants to really know how are you, right? So when somebody called me how am I just tell them my whole story Then they were shocked. They don't know how to handle. They hang up the phone and they run away. Yeah, this is my personal experience. So
there are such people.
Of course, when the storm comes, you know who are your friends. You know who are your friends and who are not your friends. So if you want to be a good friend, you must go through with the particular person, through thick and thin. If you are not ready for that, then don't be friends somebody. Just stay in the woods. Yeah. So it's always about giving. What can you give to the person? How can you help that particular person? Right? You cannot have this stigma. So that's why you need to know who you are and who you belong to before you can help somebody. Yeah. Okay. What's your next question? See how you got a multiple question.
Yeah, and just now you do mention about you got a will or something to encourage you to survive because of your children. And what if some patients who have been diagnosed that they have maybe stage 3 or stage 4 cancer and they have nothing, but how can we help them?
A lot of times, a lot of times we cannot help them because it is a battle that they have to overcome by themselves. And a lot of times the particular person is also depraved because we have to know that we are depraved beings. We cannot overcome everything ourselves. But then we need to, that's why I was telling you, we have to look at the spiritual side. Who do we belong to? And, where can we get our peace? And this is done, the survey is done not by myself, but it's done in Iman Community Cancer Hospital. So it shows us that we are all the same. We are human beings. There are certain needs that we have to look into. And there are certain things that we can't help the person. We can only tell the person, we can encourage the person. But it's between the creation, us, and the creator when you go. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And any other questions? No?
I have one.
Okay.
Honestly speaking, I always believe that patient is not the one who's suffering. In fact, entire family is the patient, because everyone in, at least in close network, in close families, suffering because of that disease, because in anyhow they are also impacted. Everybody gives strength to the patient, but not to their families. Okay, how should we treat the close family? How should we help them, support them, or keep motivating them to go forward?
That's a very good question, because as a patient myself, there are certain things that I wouldn't want to tell my wife or tell my family, because if you were to tell them, you know how you can take it, but you do not know how they can take it, right? And that is the challenge that we have. So you need to become confidant to the particular person. Again, there are two aspects that we have to understand. You look at the Stockdale paradox. You have to tell them very plainly, this is the brutal fact. There's a high possibility that you will die. That's the brutal fact. But yet have the faith. So how do I overcome it? You focus on the small wins. So what is a small win? Of course, I want to stay alive, right? Yeah, you saw in my video, I need sometimes take 2 hours, 3 hours to finish a drink of water, which in normal days you just take less than 5-10 seconds. You take 2 to 3 hours. So how do we overcome that? How do we understand that? To overcome this, you need to accept that brutal fact that it is very difficult, but yet it is a small win. So the small win that I have is that, okay, today I take 3 hours, tomorrow I take 2 hours, so I win, yay. So I tell people that I win 2 hours. So the family cheers. So everybody must be happy, right? So we must be very open. The family member has to be very open to the patient as well. Yeah. So tell the patient this is how you feel, but just tell the patient that I'm with you towards the end. That is the brutal fact. Because remember, it's not how we die, it is how we live our life, right? And just like what you saw in the presentation, you can ask for forgiveness. I also, because this is some of the things that I do, I try to encourage cancer patient. So there's this gentleman that I knew. He was working with me in the past. Then somebody contacted me because of my book, Road to Beautiful. So he told me that her brother is stage 4 lung cancer. So I connected with him, and I realized that he was working with me. We were colleagues before. So before in the last few moments of his life, he called me. He said that, Gerard, I don't know if I've done anything wrong to you, but please forgive me if I've done anything wrong. So you, as a caregiver, you want to assure the person that, whatever he has done wrong or whatever she has done wrong, there's no ill feelings. You have to be sincere about it. Okay, you have to be sincere about it. So that's how you show the support. So that you tell the person that, everything is forgotten, everything is forgiven. Because it's the matter of the heart. It's the matter of the heart. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Yes. Thank you.
Most welcome. Anything else?
Hi, Gerard. Yeah, I have one question actually. I want to ask you, how during this challenging time, how did you actually, what pushed you to be from a cancer patient to a survivor and now to be a business coach, and you have your own book? Like, what motivates you to go up to that level?
Okay, my very frank answer is this. Okay, it is all because of God. God, it is. I'm just now, you saw in the video, I told you that I have a personal relationship with my God, my Lord, and my Savior, which is Jesus Christ. So I rely heavily on Him. Okay, so that is the honest truth. And you take things a bit freely. You look at things a bit differently compared. So I'm not as competitive. Whatever it is, I plan. But I know that I realize that it is not up to me to make it happen. So it's all up to God. So that's why in my presentation, it says that we have to address the inner things of our spirit. Who are you? Who do you belong to? So that is something that you have to address. Of course, you can plan. And because of the perspective of my life has changed from being self-focused to God-focused and to people-focused. So I felt that being a business coach and is helping me to help others to realize what they need to do. And my book is to provide the hope to the cancer survivors, cancer patients. And I mean, I'm very blessed to say that, a few of people who has read my book. So I always tell people, I don't want to be the only stage 4 cancer survivor. I want to have more cancer survivors. So one of the thoughts that came to my mind, I know this name is very controversial. Lance Armstrong, Lance Armstrong, very controversial. He cheated and everything, but I have to take the hats off to him because he fought and survived the testicular cancer, and after that he cheated his way to win Tour de France, right? So, but that's aside from the story. But for him to have the tenacity to overcome cancer and to win it is his ability. But I am a believer that it's not up to me, it's all up to God. I have people who has survived. I go to a church in Penang. My pastor is fighting stage 4 cancer for 4 years. He's still around. I have a very good friend. His wife just passed away. She's been fighting stage 4 cancer for the past 12 years. Okay, and unfortunately she lost and she passed on. But it was the quality of the life that she had during these 12 years, and it's the quality of life that you have after that. So it's never too late to you don't need to have a train wreck in life to realize it. So there are some good people, if you read this book by Malcolm Gladwell, it's called The Outliers. Outliers. He says that those people who has gone through tragedies in their life come out differently. So I'm not suggesting you go and find a tragedy. Yeah, but I'm saying that before that happens, know who you are and who you belong to. Okay? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I did. Thank you so much. Any more questions from the floor?
Yeah, Gerard, where can we find your book?
Unfortunately, it depends on who bids the most expensive. No longer in publication.
Oh.
Yeah, I published the book in 2011 when I was finishing my MBA and I was finishing fighting cancer. I finished the therapy in 2010. So after that, I started writing the book and it was published in 2011. So now it's 2021 already.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think we can finish this in a positive note that our timer has already waved a red flag to us. Before we end, Gerard, would you probably just do an honor to take my last question? Just as an encouragement to many of our guests and also our members tonight. It's a stigma that you can't really talk about this. What would you do? Like, how would you encourage people who has a problem? It doesn't matter. It's a prostate cancer, it's a nose cancer or whatever, or even not a cancer, even a depression. What would you do, or how would you encourage people to just voice it out?
So the biggest challenge is men. Men is the biggest challenge. Because a lot of people that I reach out to through my book to cancer patients, the men all shy away. They don't want to talk about it. It's only through the woman. So if you really want to encourage the men, you have to go through their wives. Yeah, or that is the brutal fact. That's the brutal fact of it. So but unfortunately, sometimes when the man doesn't have a wife or what, that is challenging. So it is always not too late to befriend somebody, because you never know when they need a friend. So a friend in need is a friend indeed. Yeah. Why you really snorted your coffee? because I talk about men.
Go through their wife and
You're not joking, right, when you say that? Are you joking when you say that?
I mean, you can ask all the men. I'm just being truthful. Okay, men are very
Egoist.
suppressing creatures. We are very difficult. We try, because you understand that it's a matter of the heart, and the men, unfortunately, this is the fact. Unfortunately, there's not many organizations, platforms for the men to open up. Okay, men don't talk about a few things. Men don't talk. This is a reality. Men don't talk about sex. Men don't talk about their challenges in their lives. Okay, every time men talk about, in the Kopitiam, they talk about politics, they talk about sports. Never talk about these things. But you talk about, this, we are all adults here. When you go to the cafe, you hear the woman talk, this man didn't come yet lah. I hit menopause already lah. You hear this very often, but men don't talk about it one. And that is the true fact. That is the true fact. Right? That is the true fact. But there is no platform for men to come together to talk about it. So when you say men want to talk the matter of the heart, they tell you their business, they tell you the politics, they don't like the prime minister. That's not the matter of the heart. All the girls started to laugh already. Yeah, Michelle laughing already until the mustache also falling off already.
All right, thank you so much, Jared. Any more questions from the floor? All right. Thank you so much, Jared, for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it. Let's give everyone a round of applause for Jared for sharing his story with us. We really appreciate that.